Recording. So, good evening, everyone, and we are very honoured tonight to have the lovely Sam Munslow joining us for our Lovely People webinar. So, Sam, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and why we're here having a chat?
Well, I'd love to know why we're having a chat. I'm here having a chat because you invited me. I'm Sam. I'm a leadership transformation coach. I live in Weston-super-Mare near Bristol, and I travel all over the place in my new camper van that's not new at all. It's 30 years old. Just like to say that because new ones cost so much money.
Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, sorry, I digress. My background's education, so I started off and spent 22 years as a teacher, school leader, finished as a very, very stressed, burnt out deputy head. Then went into, and I was using coaching within my role as a deputy head, and then thought, oh, well, I'll do this for a living then. My goodness, that's been fun. What a roller coaster that's been. Great, I love it. I meet lots of interesting people. I don't have a niche of who I coach, although I suppose you could say I work with a lot of business leaders, which is why I'm a leadership transformation coach. But I also work with parents and children, and I class that as leadership as well, because we lead our children into their adulthood and we develop and empower leaders. So basically everybody's a leader really, so I can work with anybody. But I don't. So it's mostly business leaders, parents, children. I love it.
So will you tell us a little bit about how you work with people you work with? You know, if I was interested in some leadership coaching, what would we be doing together? What would you be pointing me towards?
Reality, really, in a nutshell. Point you back to reality. So we've got the facts, and then we've got the stories we make up to go alongside them. And we all live in a world of stories. We all tell stories to ourselves and we believe them. And when we believe them, we compound them. And then that becomes our reality. I was talking with somebody today who, he is a leader, but it's funny, whenever I work with people, it always gets back to them as people and not just their business. And he was talking about his fear of flying. And he said it's costing him a fortune because he'll, instead of getting on an aeroplane and doing a cheap package holiday, he goes, why don't we go on a cruise? Anything to avoid flying. But he said, you know, cruises cost so much money. And as the children get older, they cost more and more because they've reached that point where they have to be adults now. So he said, I've got to get past this. And the fact is that he's getting on an aeroplane, and the stories that he creates then are the plane's going to crash, or it might not crash, but I get really nervous and I hate flying. They're some of his most powerful stories, is how much he hates it. And when we broke down through all of his stories, all the nonsense that he makes up, he's then able to focus on the facts. He gets on aeroplanes. He has some nervous thinking and nervous feelings around it. The story that he creates because of the nervous feeling, that's the bit we squashed past. And he booked a flight. He just went, I can't believe I've done this for years and years. He said, this just makes sense. So he was just one of those, bing, got it moments, which is fabulous. That's it really. It's just point back towards the truth, back towards reality, and away from the stories that we make up. And it's not that we have to squash the stories out of our mind. It's that we recognize them as the stuff that we're making up.
It's also to do with the space, isn't it? Before the story comes in your mind and you're overthinking everything with the thoughts that you've had. It's also the space. You look there, don't you, like to see before that contamination of thought comes in the mind, to create a story within you and your reality. You notice the space between that thought as well, and it's all energy, isn't it? When you think of like your thoughts as energy and not as thought, like as a thought or something, just think of them as energy passing through. it then becomes a bit more less suffering for you, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah, I think I find that I get it. I know what you're saying. I absolutely agree with you. But I find that when I'm speaking to people, that's a bit deep for people who go, look, I'm just scared of flying. For me to then go into energy passing through you and thoughts passing, they're just like, but I just can't stand flying. I'm terrified of it. So if I then go back, and I think I'm probably going to say in a different way what you've just said. The thought comes into your head, I'm getting on a plane. The feeling from that thought is sickness, shaking, absolute overwhelm. You then listen to that feeling and say, this is telling me something about what's going on. When in reality, we have no control over the thought. We have no control over the feeling it creates until we recognize, cool, I'm doing this. I'm creating that feeling, all from that made up thought. It's then a bit like sitting on a pin. Once you recognize you're doing it, it doesn't really make sense to carry on. You can't stop it, but you cannot fuel it. And then recognize it's nothing to do with my experience, or it's not telling me about what my experience is going to be. I am simply responding to my current experience. Doesn't matter how my future is going to be. So yeah, I think I'm saying the same thing. I just like to say it on a very, very basic level.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I get that. Definitely.
It's really nice, isn't it, to keep it at that very simple level, because I think it's very easy as human beings to complicate things, isn't it? I mean, that's how another story we start.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of my mantras is just keep it simple. Keep it simple. And I think that's because I work with children an awful lot. Having worked with children, if you talk about energy and space, they look at you like you're a little bit odd. But if you say, how sometimes you just have really strange thoughts for absolutely no reason, you don't know where they came from. Well, all of our thoughts are like that. But because we then allocate meaning to them, we think we created that thought deliberately and consciously. They then get that. They then get thoughts are made up. And they then get that the feelings that come from those thoughts must also be made up. So we don't need to pay too much attention to them.
Yeah,
that's really helpful actually as well. When you talk about feelings, they're also made up, not just your thoughts. Feelings are as well.
So they have to be, really.
All the feelings I'm having at the moment.
Yeah, if you think about it, Crystal, you have a thought and it creates a feeling. It's a bit like, so it's one, I talk in stories, in different kinds of stories, and one of mine is the Jaws moment. Have you ever seen the film Jaws?
Yeah.
So you're watching the film, you hear that music, and the thought comes into your head, shark's coming. And as soon as you have that thought, you create that sick feeling in your stomach, the one where you want to pause or go and sleep over, jump over on the back of the sofa, which is what we use.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's made up because it's pixels on a screen. There is no shark going to jump into the living room and eat my children. I've seen that film. I've seen Jaws so many times. I love to talk to my children with it. So we watch it, every now and then. Come on, let's just scare ourselves with a bit of Jaws. But we know that it's not real. We know that a shark's not going to jump out and eat us. But we create that feeling. And that's the whole purpose of film, isn't it? The music helps, the atmosphere helps, creates a feeling. It doesn't mean anything other than I'm responding to that thought. That feeling is coming just from the thought.
When you say responding to it as well, that's really cool. I love that word, responding. Rather than reacting, responding to it is a really good word to use. That is really, really interesting, word.
Oh, good. Oh.
Because when you think about it, if we went to, if you went to the cinema to watch a film and it was, like Jaws, for example, and it was supposed to be a scary film, if we didn't have that feeling, we would be disappointed. We would think we had wasted our money because we hadn't got into that feeling. We had, if you're kind of watching the crucial moment of Jaws or something, when that head comes out of that bit at the bottom of the boat.
Oh, that's the one everyone remembers. That's horrible, isn't it? That's the proper jump behind the sofa moment. Yes.
But if you're not, if you're sitting there watching it and thinking, I wonder what I'm going to have for tea later, you would just think, the film is no good. We're supposed to respond in that way,
Yeah, of course we are. And that's the point of the music as well, because the people who created film have used music to such a powerful effect. As soon as you hear dun, 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 you get that thought, and the thought is instantly, oh God, the shark's coming, it's going to be bad. And that creates the feeling. They know you're going to do that. They know that they can put a thought into your head, a made up one, because you've got no control over that. They put the thought into your head. They know it will evoke a powerful reaction inside you. And it's not telling you anything about your life. Now, if we can do that with Jaws, and we can apply that, we do that with something like Jaws, if we can apply that in other areas of our life, it's really liberating. Yeah. For example, am I wittering on?
No, I like it, Karen. This is what we want.
For example, we went, I've got two small boys, and I think they were 8 and 10, and we went on a high ropes course. And we're all harnessed up, and we weren't allowed to start until 9:30 because they had to do all the safety checks. They had to test absolutely everything. They go through every strand of the ropes to make sure it's safe. We watched them do this. And I was talking to my boys and saying exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it. So we were absolutely safe. And I said, they're inspected on this. There is no way that they can allow people to just fall and die, because actually they wouldn't have a business for much longer. So we got all harnessed up, and there was only the 3 of us with this lady instructor, and she said, right, so we're going to go on the first one. Who's going first? And they both went, Mummy. Okay. So I had to climb up this pole and walk across, and there were these slopey, wobbly bits and nothing to hold on to. And so it felt like 5 million feet in the air. I've no idea how high I was, but I could see my children and shout at them. And as I was climbing, I went, so I'm feeling quite sick now. And I got to the top, and I thought I'd just talk them through it, because I had one boy who was going, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know if I'm going to, and we talked about it, and we'd had a little coaching chat. And I said, I'm feeling really sick. I'm shaking. And I've got stories going through my head about I'm going to fall and die. And I think Dennis was 8. He said, Mummy, they're just stories though, aren't they? This is a Jaws moment, isn't it? And the lady at the bottom went, what are you talking about? And he said, well, and he explained the Jaws moment. And he said, and that's what Mummy's having now, because you've done all your safety checks and she's perfectly safe. So knowing that I was perfectly safe, knowing that this was just a story that was causing me to feel sick and feel shaky, didn't stop me then from going ahead and doing what I needed to, which was walk across these awful wobbly planks. So I just confidently walked across, knowing full well I'm perfectly safe. Oscar and Dennis did exactly the same thing. And when we came down, the woman said, I have never seen 3 more terrified people walk so confidently. I don't get what you did. And it was simply that we got that the feelings that we were having weren't telling us that we were going to fall and die. They were made up. So we didn't need to pay attention to them. We could still walk with those feelings. If you can apply that in other aspects of your life, when you feel anger, when you feel fear, when you feel stress, when you feel grief, whatever feelings you've got, you can still get on with your day. It is liberating. It's freeing.
It's like that permission, isn't it, to have that feeling and carry on.
Yeah, because you can't make it go away. You try. Next time you're feeling really, really angry, and I'm not going to pretend I don't have feelings. I can't stand it when people say, and when you get this, you no longer have anger or fear. Rubbish. I'm human.
Rubbish, yeah.
I have human moments. So I do get cross. I do get angry.
We're human.
When I'm terrified, because I'm human. And unless I experience a whole range of emotions, then I feel like I'm not complete.
I was going to say, you wouldn't actually want not to have, if somebody said to me, oh, have this understanding and then don't feel anything. I mean, I've got a 9-week-old grandson, and I love to have all sorts of, to kind of really love. I would hate not to feel what I feel towards him, love and protection, and he's just gorgeous. And if somebody had said, oh, do you know what, have this understanding and you won't have any emotions over anything. We want emotions, don't we, as humans?
Of course we do. That's what makes us us.
Yeah, it's
special. It's special to have emotions. Shows that we care. We've got a heart. We've got not just a mind, we've got a heart. We physically react to everything as well. Like our body reacts, doesn't it, to certain emotions.
Yeah, like you were saying about your Jaws moment. That is
Jaws moments.
It's a full on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you can't stop it. So yeah, I was going to say, next time you feel angry and somebody says, calm down. Oh, you nearly spat your drink then, Debra.
You can't.
But it's red rag to a bull. So I had how old is he now? 12. Oscar's 12. He came in and he was absolutely really, really angry. And he went, I know you're going to be cross with me. I know, because he was shouting at his brother. And I said, hang on a second. Hang on. Don't take your stories and make them mine. And because we coach each other, he went, oh, all right then. But he said, but I need to tell you. And I said, okay, do me a favour. Because he was going to be late for school. Instead of telling me why you're angry, do me a favour and find that feeling. Find it in your body. Find it if it's, really tense inside your head, if it's, you can't swallow because it's so tight in your throat, if it's hard to breathe because it's in your chest, if it's making your stomach hurt because it's so tight, or if it's tight inside your muscles. Find the anger, go and get dressed for school and get dressed, embracing that anger, because that is a beautiful sign that you are responding to your experience. So just find it and embrace it. And off he went. And I heard a little bit of slamming as he embraced it to the full. And then he came out and I said, so Oscar, tell me about the anger. And he went, oh, it was all inside my jaw. It was so tight. And I said, and how did it feel? And he went, well, when I just felt the anger without the story, the story of why I was angry, when I just felt the anger, I felt big and I felt powerful, and I put my socks on angrily and I slammed the door. Sorry, Mummy, I slammed the door really angrily. He really, really embraced it. And then I said, and how are you doing now? And he went, I'm fine. I said, and what about the why? And he went, oh, me and Dennis had a bit of an argument. He said, it doesn't matter. Now, I did a kind of a sneaky thing there, because when you try to focus on a feeling and a story inside, so I'm feeling angry at you because, it's really hard to stop that feeling. It's something intangible, because I can't get inside my head and physically stop that thought. And it's the thought that we're focusing on and fueling. Whereas if we focus on a physical feeling, anger, for example, and we find where it is in our body and we find the tension and we embrace it, because we're not fighting it and because we're not creating a story and fueling the story, it's a lot easier to let it dissipate, to let it just go when it's ready, because there's nothing holding it then apart from us wanting to. He really enjoyed getting dressed angrily. And then when he finished getting dressed angrily, he was able to just breathe it out. And he didn't focus on the story. So instead of focusing on the intangible, which is the why I'm angry, he focused on something tangible, a physical tension in his body, and he could let it relax and dissipate. Now, when you're calm and you're physically feeling calm and you think about what made you angry, sometimes you can wind yourself up a treat again, but then you just focus on the feeling again. But more often than not, that's when your logical mind kicks back in, and that your clarity of thinking comes back, and you're able to put it back into perspective and go, actually, it's just an argument. And he's really good at doing that. He's learned over time to do that, so that now he can have an argument with someone at school, and by the time he's got home on the bus, he'll just say, yeah, I've had an argument, let me talk you through it. And he talks me through, I felt the tension in my hands, I felt it go, my legs were going like jelly. He talks about the physical rather than they annoyed me because. So it's a really good way of helping children to process what's going on for them physically, because quite often they can't talk it out anyway. They can't explain it.
No, you can't, can you? Sometimes you just can't explain what's going on in your mind. So it's a good way of, doing it that way, by physically saying why it's reacting in the body. Yeah. And it's okay to feel everything, isn't it? Everything, anything.
It's quite important too, really. If you never tense your muscles up, then, you're wasting them. If you never feel your jaw being tense, you never feel it being relaxed. If you never feel angry, you never feel peace. You never know what anger is. Grief is not a pleasant emotion, but if you think about why you're grieving without going off into storyland, you're grieving because you've lost somebody you love. What's wrong with that?
I know there's nothing wrong with it, is there?
Nothing. You have to have the love in the first place.
Like he's died. It's like he's actually died. My ex-boyfriend. It's horrible. Do you know what I mean? And him living round the corner from me, it's horrendous. That's why I went to Cyprus as well, but I wasn't running away from anything. I wanted to do my singing on the boats, and I did it. And it wasn't the right job. It was the wrong role. It was more animation. And in that week that I was there, I tried to find other companies to work for, and I took the initiative, and I was courageous and everything. And it just didn't work out. And I came back, and that's it. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Sometimes I just actually don't know what's going to be going for me now in my life, moment to moment. At the moment, I'll be honest, I have no idea what's going on with me, but I'm okay.
And that's the most important thing, is knowing that you are okay. Whatever happens, it's all a journey. It's a journey that we're going on. We take it too seriously. We take ourselves too seriously and our feelings and thoughts too seriously. When we do that, then everything that we call a knock or a blow, that really hurts because we take it so seriously. Whereas if we accept it's part of our journey, and whatever happens. And
but I've never been dumped, do you know what I mean? And now he dumped me, was on video call and blocked me, and that was it. It was rejection. Now that feeling of rejection, of nothing, that when he's been in love with me, for so many months or whatever, and then that happens, that's horrible. That's awful.
It is, yeah. And it's even more so if you kind of fuel it with the story of life will never be good again, my life is over, because that's going off into storyland. It's also trying to predict the future, and none of us can do that.
Yeah, that's so true.
So it's accepting the feelings that you have without fueling them with the story and letting them be, because when you just let them be, sometimes they'll feel fine and sometimes they won't. Hi, Beck.
Hi, Beck.
Hello, Beck.
So we have Julie as well.
Yes, hello, Julie. Hello. Sorry, you've been sat there quietly, Julie, while I was wittering on, so I didn't say hello to you.
I like
you. Happy to see you again. Look, it's still your family.
Aww.
No,
anyhow, never mind.
I love that. I love that, what you're saying. And it is, very much, it is when we can get people out of their stories, then we see that.
The key is recognizing them.
Yeah.
Recognizing, because you can sit in them. I can create a story and sit in my story knowing it's a story and allow myself to, I can wind myself up a treat with it if I want to. And there are times when I do. There are times when I, there was one last year that's, I tell stories all the time. I was annoyed at a member of my family. Somebody had done something to upset my daughter, or somebody had done something and my daughter was upset in reality, because she chose to be upset by it. And I was really annoyed. Why would he do that? He knew that she would be upset. And I wound myself up a tree, and we were driving back to this person's house, and I went, just going to collect the children and drive home because I was so cross. And it was really late at night. And my husband said, can you just pull over? And he went, so this isn't my thing, this is your thing, but do you think maybe you're just feeling your thinking at the moment and kind of fueling a little bit with us? And you can see he's trying to shy away from me. So I sat there in the driver's seat and I went, yes, you're absolutely right. It didn't stop me being angry. It did, because I didn't just go, oh, silly me. I was feeling my thinking, pink, happiness returns. I was still really angry. So I carried on, got back to this person's house, said hello and said, just need to pop and have a shower because I just needed to get out of the way, allow myself a bit of time. And I was still really angry, but a lot less so because I knew I was causing it. And so I didn't fuel it and get more angry with the person. I did still sit there feeling angry. And it was perfectly all right because actually I wanted to. Not I wanted to as in I deliberately chose to. But because that was happening for me and I couldn't just flip a switch that said, don't be angry anymore, I allowed it. But I allowed it without fueling the story any further. So that when I did calm, and when you don't fuel it, your moods will ebb and flow and they will calm. When I did calm, I didn't then go, and he said, and wind myself up again. Just allowed it to be. And then I could go and talk to the person quite calmly, because actually my husband said when we did stop and he was doing this to shield himself, he wouldn't deliberately upset your daughter. He did what felt right for him at the time, and he didn't think about her. He thought about him, but he didn't do it deliberately to upset her. And I know that because he's a family member and we don't deliberately upset each other. Sometimes we upset each other, and we all do that. Everyone
Yeah,
does.
we do. And also, because we don't choose the thoughts that we're having, you know, that you know that yourself within yourself. So you see that more in other people, don't you? So however they show up in that moment to you, whether it's anger or upset or happy, sad, anxious, whatever it is, you know, you have more compassion for them other people that you're dealing with, because you know there can't be anything different. We can't, can we?
No, it's very true. Very true, Crystal. You've got no choice but to be what you are currently being.
Yeah.
And when you get this understanding about yourself and you realise that you have no control over it, but you can decide whether or not you're going to fuel it or not.
Yeah.
You then look at people in a different way, because you look at them and go, they're doing what they feel is best. Sometimes you go, oh, you're feeling, you're thinking and fueling it there. Not everybody wants to hear that, oddly enough.
No.
People just aren't quite ready for it. But it does mean that you can then, I was going to say judge them without judging. Listen to them and take what they're saying without that kind of judgment that you would.
I don't like that word judgment. I hate it so much. Honestly, I think if we don't judge people at all and we just accept them in the moment what they are, you know, even if they're not being very nice, you know, be nicer to them. Be nicer to them because they will, you know, hopefully rub off on them. Be nice.
But even if it doesn't, you know, even if they're not, if someone doesn't hold the door open for me, I'm not going to slam it in their face, because I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to continue to be me and not be impacted on the fact that actually they didn't make the decision I would have made. I don't have the right to judge them. I don't have the right to say, you should do this, you should hold the door open for me, because that's expectations. And when you use the judgment and the expectation, life is much, much more peaceful. Much more peaceful.
And also they can only have their perception of things, whatever's coming to them in the moment, isn't it? It's whatever they see and believe to be true in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're talking about, is us accepting that we are going to have strong emotions sometimes. And if we understand that and we don't fuel it, then we won't respond in a negative, or what we perceive to be a negative way. But we can't then say, well, you should do exactly the same thing, because not everybody has the same level of understanding. So it is about letting go of that judgment and allowing people to just be.
let go of all the judgment, all the labels for people, you know, people are these sort of people and that sort of people. I'm not hanging out with them because they've got tattoos or they've got piercings, and it's a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
And
Everyone's a human being.
And sometimes we all have judgmental thinking, don't we? It's a little bit like other things, like when you say you're angry and you can't make yourself not be angry. Sometimes I find there's judgmental thinking in my mind, and you know, it's any more than
yeah,
make anger go away. I can't make the judgmental thinking
Absolutely,
go away.
yeah. None of us have got a halo. We can't just let go of all of it permanently. And anyone that tells you that they can, you know, these people that live in this happy ethereal bubble, must be really boring in there.
I mean, there's no such thing as perfect, is there? No such thing as perfect.
At all. No. And so, yes, you're absolutely right, Debs, that, you know, we do, all of us will judge, definitely. Even without noticing it, you judge. But when you recognise that you're doing that, that's when you can let go of it. It's the recognising that's key.
Yeah, that is.
It's recognising that, I'm judging, and unfairly or fairly. There is no fair judgment. You know, it is judgment. Yes, I will do it at times. You know, I'll judge another parent and for what they're doing with their children, and then I'm more likely now to check myself and go, look at you getting up on your high horse. You know, what right have you got? Oh, mum of the year. I get things wrong too. My children tell me quite often that I get things wrong.
Yeah, and it is, isn't it? It's kind of accepting. And very often when we are looking at other people and, you know, getting in their stories and everything, it's very useful to kind of remember, oh yeah, me too. I do that too. Everything we're judging someone else for, it's very likely we've done it or we do it. Or
we have, I was talking about this one today actually. We have a standard that we believe that people should be at, and we believe ourselves to be at that as well. But it's okay for us to dip below that occasionally, because really we're still at that standard. We're just dipping.
Okay.
But we don't allow other people the same thing. I remember sitting in the car with my brother once, and he went, oh, look at that dirty pig sat at the light picking his nose. That's disgusting. And I turned and went, Paul, have you never picked your nose? Well, yeah, but, and I went, right, have you ever sat at the traffic lights a bit bored because the traffic lights take a long time? I thought, I'll just have a little firk in here. And he went, what? Yeah, but look at it. Because he has his standards, and it's okay for him to do that occasionally, because, you know, nobody's looking while he has a little dig. But he will judge somebody else, and we all do it. Yeah. It's that human bit. Of course we'll do it. But then, you know, it's having me sitting there go, oh, Paul, have you never picked your nose? He went,
oh, brilliant. I just love, you know, you just got to be completely and brutally honest with people, in life, you know, just be yourself. Honestly, everyone's taken. Just be you.
Yes. Well, you can't be anyone else, can you?
No.
And we do try, and that's another thing, you know.
I don't try. I'm never like try to be someone that I'm not, you know what I mean? But there are people out there that are fake, and they try.
I think we all do that on occasion. We will all
want that life, and they're jealous or they're envious of this and that and the other, and it's like, no, you're fine. You're perfectly fine just the way you are.
Yeah, but we don't always see it. And we all do it. You know, we will always compare. One of my absolute favourite sayings is never make the mistake of comparing the inside of your life with the outside of others. And that's that when you turn up to drop your children off at school and you're wearing your scabby jogging bottoms because you didn't have time because you were sat reading with them or you were doing something with them, and you quickly throw on your clothes and went, oh bugger, I haven't got time to wash my hair, I'll just tie it up out of the way. And you turn up at school and there's that mom, you know, that mom, the one with the beautifully manicured nails, the one that wears high heels at 8:45 in the morning. You think, oh my goodness, they look new as well. How do you wear those? I've just had to run going, come on, you're going to be late. And she's, you know, she looks so pristine. And then you look at her and you see somebody look so perfect. That's her outside. My outside, I look like a bag of bones at that point. And we compare that. So unfair. What we don't know is what's going on for her. She just finished work. Has she just been to a wedding and had her nails done? It actually makes no difference, because what she's doing with her life has nothing to do with what I'm doing with my life. But we do constantly. And I think the best way I can explain that is when somebody comes to visit, if you were to say to me, Sam, I'm popping round tomorrow afternoon, I guarantee tomorrow morning I will get up, clean the floors, make sure my kitchen's spotless, including clean the kitchen sink, so it looks nice and new and shiny, which it really isn't because it's old. Yeah. And then I'll go into the dining room and I'll take all the Lego and the washing and the bits of post off the dining room table and put them where they belong. And I'll put a tablecloth out, and then I'll pop to the shop and I'll buy some flowers and put those there. And when you come round, you're going to look at my house and go, oh my goodness, Sam, it's so clean and tidy. Her dining room looks like a dining room. I look like a mess. If you didn't tell me you were coming, then you would see the cobwebs and the dog hair all over the carpet, and the muck all over the floors because we're constantly traipsing, and the Lego and washing on the table, because that's my inside. That's the bit I hide and don't want you to see. And that's not because I'm pretending to be somebody else. It's because I want to be my best. I want you to see me at my best, and I want to do things to look nice for you when you come round. But when we compare those, you look at me and think that I'm like that all the time. You are sadly mistaken, because honestly, I'm really not. Lego and washing, that's what lives on my dining room table. And a bit of post.
And guess what, Sam? It's all okay. It's
okay. And actually, if you did turn up and you saw the Lego and washing and a bit of post, and you saw me in my jogging bottoms and dog hair all over the carpet, I wonder how many people would actually notice until I pointed it out. Because if I said, would you like a cup of coffee? It's so lovely to see you, and I wrapped you up in a big hug, you're more interested in the love that I'm sharing than going, have you seen the cobwebs in her living room?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter.
So that's your distraction by giving them a big hug.
Hugs make everything right. So yes, we do far too much comparing, don't we?
We do. Judging, comparing.
Judging. Yeah.
Just that's all judgment. That's all conditioning, though. All conditioning thoughts we've been taught by other people, society, and our families as we're growing up as children. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
definitely. So,
yeah. We need
so
to
in my
all thinking, don't we, and let the new stuff come in.
Yeah. Yeah. In my previous job as a primary school teacher and a deputy head, a really good example of that kind of conditioning. If you go into a classroom with a 4-year-old and say, who's good at maths? I think I said this in the conference actually. If you say who's good at maths, every 4-year-old will put their hand up. Who's good at drawing? Me, choose me. If you go into a class with 11-year-olds and you say, who's good at maths? They will all point and say, Pete's good at maths. Pete's best at maths. Not Pete's good, Pete's best at maths, because already they're starting to level and judge and condition themselves. I'm not good at maths, Pete is. And I know I'm not good because Pete's better. And poor Pete, he'll sit there and he'll go, yeah, I am. He said, but I can't draw for toffee, because he'll judge himself on something else, and we will always down. And to have that conditioning at that age, it is quite sad. It's quite liberating when you teach children how to undo that. My children now, my 2 youngsters, because I've got 4 children, my 2 younger ones, they're fabulous. If you say, are you good at this? Well, I'm not as good as I will be. I'm not quite good yet. I'm practicing. And sometimes they'll go, no, I'm rubbish at that. And the other one will go, no, you're not. You've just not learnt it yet.
It is.
They do still hit each other, though. I would like to say we don't live in this perfectly happy house where my children and I are all absolute angels, and my husband too. We do argue, we do fight. my little boy does wee on the toilet seat, and we definitely do feel our thinking an awful lot. And we
That's true. That's so fine.
Yeah, just humanness. I think
it's good to live in the real world, isn't it? It's good to live in the real world. But it is surprising quick. It is surprising how quick young children will see things, like you're saying, they're brought up to kind of see, do you know what, that's a judgment that you're making. It is very surprising how quick that conditioning can be undone as quickly.
Oh, definitely in children. I love working with children, but they're not a money maker. They don't pay my bills because they just get it so quickly. If I work with an adult, I will say, I will work with you for a minimum of 3 months because you have got layers of conditioning that you've got to undo. And you'll undo it and you'll get it, up here. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. But until you get it in your heart and in your gut, you'll still go back. You'll revert back to your default, which is back up to the default conditioning. And so I'll work with an adult for at least 3 months. Children, no, just I'll see them for a session and see how it goes. And quite often they go, ping. Yeah. And they've got it. They've just undone it. I worked with a child recently who, she's 12 years old, and she had years of trauma, years of things going on. And when I sat down and spent an hour and a half with her, she just went, oh my goodness, yeah, I've been holding on to the past and that's not me anymore, is it? Oh, brilliant. Thank you. And that was it. She let go of it. I had to carry on working with her mum for 3 months because her mum couldn't let go of the past so easily. Her mum was the one, because her mum had that conditioning alongside with her. Yeah. Her mum just couldn't just let go of it. She kept going, well, maybe you just need to have another chat with her. I'm like, okay, well, let's chat next week. Bring her along. If we need to chat, if you think I need to chat with her, I will. If you don't, she can go and play in the garden with the children and we'll have a chat. And I worked with mom because it was her conditioning that was holding them back, not the child. You're absolutely right, Deb. The children just get it.
Yeah, they're really quick to just see through it, aren't they? And to see.
We could learn so much from them. If you look at children in the playground, they'll fight over a stick because sticks are gold in the playground. Especially the big sticks or the ones with the little pointy bits on them that you can do all sorts with. They'll fight over a stick, absolutely hate it. One will hit the other one. They'll come in and they'll go, Miss, he hit me with this stick. Please, can you tell him off? You'll tell him off. 2 minutes later, you turn around and they're there, heads together, giggling away because they've let it go. They've fallen out. They've fallen back in.
They're very resilient. Resilient. They're very resilient, aren't they? Resilient.
So are we. But we have foggy glasses that stop us realising it.
No.
So people talk about, oh, you're resilient, you're confident, you're brave, you're strong. We all are. Yeah. We all are.
Yeah.
It doesn't go. There's no way that you go from being a child and resilient to being an adult. At what point do you say, I'm just going to park my resilience here and then get on feeling a little bit insecure for the rest of my life? We don't do it. We still have that resilience. We just listen to the stories and we condition ourselves to believe that we are not as strong and capable as we knew we were as children. Children are invincible. They can do
I'd love to be a child forever. I would love to be a child forever. Do you know why? Because they've got no inhibition with anything. And I just love how they're going in and out of experience. He stubs his toe, a little lad or a little girl, and oh, it's all right, Jax. Do you want Emily? Do you want an ice cream? Yeah. Okay then. And they've forgotten about stubbing the foot or the toe, and they have an ice cream instead.
Yeah, and that's it. We will hold on to the story, and we hold on to it a lot of the time because of past experiences. So, if I stub my toe, I instantly get, because I break for a hobby, I instantly go, have I broken my toe again? For about the 15th time. And all of those stories of when I've broken my toes and how unpleasant it's been and how long it took to me to recover, all those stories come back and I hold on to that. And that's what I'm living in. I'm not living in now. I've stubbed my toe. I'm living in, last time it was a really big bad experience for me, and I relive that. Or I think
it's amazing how the mind can do that, though. How it time travels back to the past and then to the future, and
and again, recognizing that you're doing that, recognizing, oh, I'm living in the past again. Past has been and gone. I have just stubbed my toe. It doesn't mean I'm going to walk for the next 6 weeks.
It's that mean, isn't it? It's that we make meaning. We're very, very quick to make meaning. Add a story, and this means, therefore, it will be.
Yeah. Whole host of stories. Yeah. A whole saga going on. And then we just need to come back to, actually, fact, stubbed my toe.
Yeah. I'm kind of just changing the subject a little bit here, Sam, Debra, really, right? But the thing is, I miss my ex-boyfriend so much. It's really difficult. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm getting on with my life and I'm doing everything day to day and what I'm doing, just whatever I'm doing in the moment, whatever. But it keeps popping in my head all the time. Why is that? After January, when he broke up with me, we only went out for 1 month. And we were, like, hanging out since last August kind of thing. We got together in December, he finished with me in January, bang.
Okay, so can I ask you, when the thought pops into your head about him, what do? Do you try and make it go away? Do you focus on it? What happens?
No, I don't. I cry sometimes. I just cry because I miss him, and these feelings are really true for me. And and then I have thoughts. Well, why can't he be my friend? Why won't he talk to me? Those are the thoughts that come in my head. Why won't you talk to me when I've done nothing wrong? He told me I've done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
You guys, it's because he's probably bisexual, you see. And
so it sounds to me like and I might be wrong, but it sounds like when you have that thought and you start to feel unhappy, you are then fueling it with the why. You can't answer that question. You're not him. You're not in his head. So you can't come up with the why. And so that creates then an unhappy bubble inside you that you can't resolve. You've got, this is the thought and this is the conflict of why that you can't resolve. Whereas if you are to then just go, I don't know why. If I wake up in a bad mood, I can then ask myself, why have I woken up in a bad mood? I will come up with reasons. My husband was snoring. It's raining and I wanted to do the gardening. That client didn't pay up, or, I put on £3 last week. Whatever reason, I'll find a reason. I'll hook onto it. I've then created my reality. I will sit in that bad mood all day. Every time I start to come out of it, I'll remind myself, oh yeah, he was snoring last night. Or whatever. My poor husband, he does cop it a lot. He does snore though. Whereas I'll wake up and go, oh, I'm in a bad mood. Why am I in a bad, Storyland, I'm in a bad mood. So it's
maybe what I need to do then is just completely not put any meaning to any thought that I have about him now.
If you have a thought about him,
I don't know.
It means that you've had a thought. You've just thought of him. And it might not be a thought where you feel good about it. Just get on with what you're doing and allow that thought to be, without fueling with why he doesn't want to be friends with you, why he doesn't want to know you. Because every time you're fueling it and you're giving it a little perceptual reality, you're creating a reality rather.
Yeah, it really hurts though. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to lie, it just really hurts.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're hanging on to it. You're hanging on to that hurt by fueling it, but you're not letting it be. Because at the moment, it's a little bit like when my son was angry. You can't explain it away. You don't have an explanation, and so it's just sitting there.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It does actually. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, I'll just
Sorry, we've gone off on a tangent, Deb, so we're not supposed to be doing this. Where were we? Sorry. I hope it was helpful, Chris.
Thank you.
All good. It's all good. So we haven't got much longer to it, so I just wondered if Juliet or Beck or Julie wanted to make any comments or ask any questions, if there's anything anyone else wanted to say tonight.
Tumbleweed. Shall I sing a song?
No, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure because we've been rattling away for quite some time, and it's like,
Yeah, haven't we? Gosh, didn't time fly?
time does absolutely fly. Yes, it does. Yeah. So no, it doesn't look like the others have got anything they want to say. So that's absolutely fine. So is there anything, Sam, that you would like to kind of say before we wrap it up tonight? Is there anything else? It's been a great conversation. It's just been really, really good fun. And that is one of the things that I absolutely love about these conversations, just lighthearted and having some fun and just seeing, when we get curious about who we truly are and start to look in this direction, magic happens. So
I think it is light-hearted because we're pointing away from the heaviness that we create in our minds. And that makes it light-hearted. It's liberating and it's freeing when you realise how much nonsense we make up and the unhappiness that we cause ourselves constantly. It's an eye-opener to me. Not so long ago, I was driving down the road and I was looking for somebody because I knew somebody lived in this area that I was driving through. And it wasn't somebody that I had a good relationship with. And so I was looking for his car and I was winding myself up and I had to pull over to the side of the road and go, what are you doing? What are you going to do if you see him? You're going to stick two fingers up, you're going to give him a wave, you're going to ram him with your car. No, why are you doing this? What are you And I noticed my heart was pounding, I was shaking, I was doing that to myself. But oh, for goodness sake, wind your neck in, Sam. And off I drove. And I carried on looking for him. But knowing what I had done to myself, it just made it ridiculous. So I was driving along, looking for his car, laughing at my stupidity. It does make you take life a lot less seriously. I don't take other people less seriously. If somebody comes to me and they've got what they perceive to be a really serious problem, I won't go, oh, come on, let's take it less seriously. I take myself less seriously. And I think when you take yourself less seriously, you don't get offended. You don't take things personally. You allow people to say what they need to say at the moment without needing to judge them because it's impacting on you and your well-being. And I suppose I am in a little bubble, really.
Sounds like a beautiful bubble to be in.
It's a great bubble. It is a good bubble. I dip out of it sometimes. I pop it on occasion, but that's a good bubble.
We're back.
No, that's been an amazing conversation. I've really absolutely loved it. It's been really great to catch up with you, and it's been really good to see the rest of you here with us. So Beck, who is our next guest? Because is it Boyan?
It's who?
I can't remember what his surname is now. What's his surname? A lovely young man called Boyan.
He's like Bjork. He doesn't have a surname.
Has he?
Exciting.
He hasn't.
Yeah. No, not on Facebook. I don't actually know what his surname is.
No.
Oh, that's intriguing.
We wouldn't be able to pronounce it if we did, to be fair. He's from Bulgaria. Probably couldn't pronounce it if we knew what it was. He's on the 26th of June. We'll be catching up with him.
And yeah, he's a really nice young man, and I'm quite interested to have a chat with him and see what it is he sees, because that is the amazing thing about these webinars. You don't get two people that we're all saying the same thing but in an entirely different way, so it's really good to kind of and it really kind of keeps it fresh when we hear it in so many different ways. So and
when you hear things in so many different ways, at some point you're going to go, oh, I see.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah. Those moments, they're good. Thank you very much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed this.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Really enjoyed having a chat with you tonight. So hopefully we will catch up again soon in the not too
That would be good.
future.
That'd be good.
It would be good. So
I'll venture down in my camper van.
Yeah, do come and visit us in your camper van. That would be brilliant. You must.
Yeah, but then I come with a husband, 2 children, and a dog.
So
it comes as a package.
Facebook at all, Sam?
Sorry?
Sorry, are you on Facebook?
I am mostly for friends and family on Facebook. I'm quite private on there.
Oh, are you? Okay, that's fine. I find you really cool and
Thank you.
He is totally cool.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna go tell my children that. Someone called me cool.
He thinks you're cool. No, thank you all very, very much for tonight, and hopefully we will see you all again soon. So take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Hi,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.